Okay, well, good morning, everybody. In case you're interested, Ocean's 11 is definitely better than 12. I just wanted to say that. So today's presentation is about transforming data into value. So it's great to have everybody here and welcome. And I guess we have a pretty full house, so that's great. And people keep wandering in, so that's even better. This session is about transforming data into value. And the value may not just be monetary. It could be other things like safety, reliability. Oftentimes that does translate into value. And oftentimes you have to make a business case to business people about the actual value, because that's how the project is going to go forward. So, and it helps to justify projects. So I think it's really, really important, and I really think it's all about the data. And you'll see a lot of my sessions are around data in the next couple of days. So today's session, I guess we have a couple of things, and before we just dive in, make sure your phones are off, and I just got to make sure mine's muted because it just came up. And I just mute. So the other part is don't forget to, there's a poll in the actual app, and you can rate the session. Of course, we always like a 5 is a very nice rating for us. So today what we're going to talk about, a little bit about, I'm going to talk really high level, what are some of the data drivers, the trends, and what are the benefits. And then I'm going to talk about the use cases, and we have 3 outstanding speakers, so this is the best session. And we have a guy from Devon Energy, and I'll introduce them when they get up, Aera Energy, and someone from INVISTA, which is part of a division of Koch. And essentially we're going to go from upstream oil to complex chemicals, polymers, fibers. So what about the data? Well, getting value from data is very important, and that's why I really like this session, because I see a lot of different use cases and things, and I think those are like really, really important. And my presentation is really a high-level overview. And essentially, big data is virtually useless, I always say this, because if you don't get actionable intelligence and insight, and it needs to deliver value to your organization, whatever the value is. And a lot of these people could probably help you with some of that, and we've got some great panelists as well. So I'm going to go fairly quickly through this, so you can kind of think of me like your spouse or partner has the clicker, and you're watching TV, so you know what that's like. So a show of hands. So how many people think that technology will continue to evolve and change? So I can tell you what the poll is, 100%, or 99 anyway. I think I saw every hand. So culture is important, I think, and I've heard a lot about the culture, but I also think that, another show of hands, do you think that technology can also shape the culture? Yeah, I was going to put a sign up, say yes. Because, I think about my iPhone and an iPad, and it's definitely shaped some of the things, it's definitely driven some of the changes that I've made in my life. So technology does drive behavior as well, but I think it's a merging of both, the technology and the culture. And I think the people were saying that in the last few sessions, a lot about culture. So this is more about technology, this session. But it can also drive behavior. It can drive the way you work and things you go through, the way you look at things, and other behavior as well. So I also noticed that people are changing, and they're changing in behavior and things like that. And one of the things, I was at a very professional event. It was the end of the year last year. It was October, November. And I was at the Patriot Stadium, and it was a professional organization. It was in the pharmaceutical industry. And in all my career, I've never seen anything like this. And it was at the Patriot Stadium, happened to be there. And 2 suppliers got into a physical fight. Okay, so anyway, you're wondering, why am I telling you this? Well, the rest of the story is coming. So you got to hang on till the rest of the story. But Anyway, there's a lot of industrial drivers. A lot of people have been talking about it. You've seen it. The cloud's a driver. There's new services. There's analytics and data is definitely growing. And there's going to keep being more and more data. There's volumes of data, and the value is very, very important. And some of the challenges include having, and people still have systems in silos. 5 years ago, it was more. There's still here and there you see systems that are in silos. You see things that could definitely be automated more, robotics and things like that could definitely be used. And one of the big things is it's hard to contextualize the data and get it into a format that you can align, like timestamp data, and make sure it's all at the same timestamp. And I remember saying to somebody, we were talking about timestamps, he goes, oh, we've got that all under control. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, we use universal time. So I'm thinking about the sensor. Do they do the timestamp from the sensor? Do they do the timestamp when it was put in the system? Or do they do the timestamp when it was put in the cloud? I mean, there's a lot of information there, and there's a lot of metadata that goes along with real-time data and operational data. And we do have another session later that's going to be on data design and work, platforms. So that will be very interesting, and it's going to be a workshop. And so it is difficult sometimes to find the information. That's where the analytics and these tools are getting much, much better, making it much easier for people to get that information. And then the other part is the collaboration part, because people are becoming more collaborative because of these technologies, because in the past, the right person never got that right information. And that was a big issue. And how fast do you get the information? Can you make that decision? And to me, real time is making the decision before the action takes place that you want to prevent or enhance, whatever you want to do. So, and oftentimes the value is not conveyed. Oftentimes it's more valuable than people think. So, data wrangling, though, often people say that takes as much as 50 to 80% of the time. And that's why, people are putting data in different places in the cloud or on the edge, in data lakes, I'm hearing. And sometimes in the data lakes, it's raw data, where it's just streaming data. All data that they have is just being thrown into this data lake. And that's good in some ways, because now you have the actual data. But when you're going to go to contextualize it, you need tools to do that, because they're going to have to be really good tools, because I read that some organizations, and I'm sure it's more in the business area, have 100 terabytes of data. And that's a lot of data that they're putting into the cloud. So what are you going to do about that? So there's the data lake with all the different unstructured, structured data. Some people are combining it. So anyway, so there's a lot of work that goes into the data. There's a lot of data challenges. And I'm not going to get into some of the details on this, but just bear in mind that data does require a lot of effort. And we can talk about that maybe a little more during the workshop, some of the things that people want to work on. So segmenting that data and making it, the right data so that you're combining it correctly. And if it's good data and quality data, that's another thing, is that oftentimes we'll see somebody take you go into a plant and the guy's doing maintenance, and he sets the data to a certain value. Sometimes it's an average value, sometimes it's not. And now you're still collecting that data. So guess what? If you take an average, that average is in there unless you do something with the data to take that data out. And oftentimes they don't. So that would be, to me, a little bit on the bad side data. And there's other types of data, too. So data is very, very important. So anyway, we've seen a lot of these new platforms out there, and what do you do with these platforms? And some of these people will talk a little bit about that. And basically, most of them have a data source. They have data storage. They're ingesting that data, they aggregate it, and they clean it, and they model it, and then they give it an insight. And some of them have really nice visualization and analytics tools. And some of the analytics is where I'm seeing a lot of advancement. We're seeing things, we used to be just descriptive to descriptive to getting into prescriptive even now, predictive and then prescriptive, and then going beyond that into the machine learning and artificial intelligence. So all of that is actually happening. We're starting to see more and more use cases in those areas. And so today we will see a machine learning use case. So that's why I'm excited. I want to get to that. So anyway, we've seen a lot of different platforms. We have the OPA's platforms and their recommendations. We're also seeing the platforms from from the Nomura has a platform. And then we're seeing platforms from Seek, who's one of the technologies in this room, also has a platform, as does the OSI Soft Pi, as well as Baker Hughes, GE, who's also represented here, also has their own platform. So really, some of the essential things about analytics that I always talk about, and there's where I talk about all the different types of analytics, and it's not really, a lot of people show it on a hierarchy. I show it as some will work in different applications. Some descriptive is good, some machine learning, artificial intelligence would be better, some prescriptive, and some predictive are better. Depends on the application. And so you just got to find the right fit, and that's why, again, these use cases, and we're going to get to them, are very important. So what about the data and analytics? Well, the tools have got to be easier, and that's what I am seeing. I'm seeing the visualizations better, the tools are better, the way that you make sense of the data is getting much, much better today, and people are getting insights quicker. So that's the part, and that's why I think there's such an interest in what can we do with these analytics. So a little bit on the artificial intelligence, and we're seeing it all around us, and this happens to be some of these chatbots, and I like them too. Like my favorite is probably out of the bunch, and I've tried them all actually, is the Google Assistant and the Google Mini, because it recognizes my accent the best, in case you're wondering. You know, and it's still not 100% what, you know, the answers aren't always what I'd like, but it's still interesting, you know, and I can turn a light bulb on and off now, and I can do a few other things, turn my cameras. Everybody's got cameras everywhere, and so they said 8 million people are now using voice recognition. So that's going to keep going. But anyway, there's all kinds of different types of analytics, and I don't want to get into the definitions, the algorithms, and all that, which I'm sure, like, a lot of the people in this room know these algorithms. What I want to do is show you what you can do with the algorithms. So, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. I remember yesterday someone had talked a little bit about that. And so it's really something, I say AI is something that models and applies or imitates the intelligence of the human mind. And that's where we're going with, I think, a lot of these applications. So I just wanted to ask everybody, so how many dogs are there? I'll help you along here. There's the dogs and there's the bagels. So anyway, you could see that took a few seconds for you to find it, but a machine would be faster. And so there's a real big advantage that you would get over with using AI over having a human trying to figure out what's wrong or discern the problem and so on. And so these algorithms are getting easier, but we're also seeing them being used in all kinds of places that you would never see them used before, like airports and events, like NFL events, for example. And so now the rest of the story. So these two guys, afterwards the security came, they had the physical fight at the Patriot Stadium. Security came, they hand them a sheet, and it says, you have to take a anger management class. And by the way, it's $500. Here they are on these dates. They're conducted here. So anyway, the guy, one of the people that was with me said, well, what's to stop me from getting online, just putting in some arbitrary name, because I have the person's name, and just saying, you know, I'm Joe something or other, and I buy a ticket, and I go to the game. Of course, you can't get tickets, but you go to the game, and walking in the gate. And I said, well, here's what's going to stop you, here's what they have. They call it fan cam, but they also have security cameras. And I talked to some of the artificial intelligence companies that are doing some of this, and they're actually digitizing your face. And so then using it at the airport as well. Delta Airlines is using it for passports and things, so you don't even have to bring your passport anymore. They recognize you. And so you know, you're looking at this crowd, and they're saying, oh, okay, well, what's this guy doing? You know, maybe this guy over here, he looks kind of suspicious. Let's see what he's doing. So, and you can do this right online. There he is, but he looks happy. And so they see facial expressions. They also can recognize somebody. It sends an alert to the security, and it says, this guy's sitting in this seat, in this level, right there. So the security goes over and says, okay, you're going to be escorted outside. You didn't take your anger management class. So anyway, technology is driving behavior changes. We all know that. It is. And this will drive your behavior change, because next time you go to an event, you're going to be on your best behavior. So anyway, and people are changing. I mean, I never saw anybody have a physical fight at any event like this, a professional event, in all my years. So the world is changing. So, but I think eventually the behavior will go back the other way because they know they're on candid camera. So data accessibility alone can lead to value, and this is from Morgan Stanley, the financial firm, and they said that a 5% increase in annual cost reductions translates to $7.8 million opportunity just in the oil and gas industry. So that's a lot of money. And I think a lot of it, and most of it, will be in the data. So how it is collected, delivered, and deployed. And so there's a lot of things that I think people should do that are interested in technology, and that is, I do say, get started. Start investing in analytic tools and platforms. Invest in modern technologies with security, interoperability. Connect these innovative technologies. Obtain new sensors, and the one that somebody was telling me about that I kind of enjoyed was one, it's a sensor about acoustics. And they're using it, like the guy was saying, you know, he's outside in the plant, he gets out of the car, and he can hear the noise in the machine, he knows something's wrong. But it took him a long time to get there, but if he's somewhere else and he's not outside the plant, he doesn't hear it. So now he can get an alert, it says the machine is the same thing that he used to hear, and it helps him to do, you know, some maintenance or whatever else needs to be done on the machine. So I think that's kind of interesting application. And so I say invest in your people, you know, allow them the culture to change and transform, and use technology and use that intersection. Look at use cases, which is why we're all here today, and invest in new complementary technologies. Be sure to do that, and measure the value and deploy it across the enterprise. And the value is important, and not necessarily the bottom line, but other things can be as important. And you need to be flexible and adaptable to the changing processes and different, more complex products very quickly, and also with the people and everything else. And this requires an infrastructure that's robust, flexible, and addresses the digital transformation. And so that's really all I was saying. It's very high level. I tried to make a few points about some of the things that you've been seeing during this conference about the digital transformation and analytics and platforms. So thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker,